Hello, I am Rafael Seith, and in this academic writing video we are going to deal with the problems of plagiarism and how to avoid it. We will see the importance of avoiding plagiarism first, together with some definitions, and the 5 common methods to avoid it: paraphrasing, summarizing, quoting, citing, and referencing. Finally, we will see a methodology to choose the best option. The objectives are first to understand the need of avoiding plagiarism in academic contexts, and also to know how to apply these 5 methods to avoid plagiarism. Let's start with a definition. What is plagiarism? It is when we misrepresent as our own the words or ideas of somebody else by reproducing thoughts, expressions, words, statements, or ideas directly from another person or source without due acknowledgement. This is actually like copying. It is one of the most serious ways of academic dishonesty. It may be subjected even to punishment, or it may be illegal, depending on copyright and regulations. There are tools that automatically detect plagiarism, such as, for example, Turnitin. So apart from risky and dishonest, it's also unethical and even illegal. It does not necessarily mean word-for-word copying. There are many ways of plagiarism. And there are 5 major ways of avoiding plagiarism. We are going to see them one by one. Let's start with the most common and most important one: paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is expressing something in your own words rather than reproducing or copying the original words of the author. The purpose of these is to preserve the original idea and also to express it in a clearer, simpler, more direct, more emphatic, in a different way. And when we paraphrase, we carry out a series of actions. We have to restate the original idea in our own words. We have to give full credit to the source. And paraphrasing doesn't mean simply to change the words. And of course, we do not have to distort the original idea. All or most of the following elements we're going to see now are found in an effective paraphrase. We have the reference to the author normally at the beginning of the paraphrase to signal it. We have to keep the keywords for meaning, and the original sentences must be restructured, as we will see. Needless words or non-fundamental words must be deleted to make the language more concise. And we have to use our words, and always there must be a citation and a reference. We have to keep the original idea and intent of the author, and of course we have to document and reference the source. Here we have an example from an original passage with some repetitions of concepts. We can reach the following paraphrase, marked by the beginning, information about the author, and the end, information about the date and the page. According to Nickerson's definition, a programmer's documentation describes the program and explains how it works. Later, programmers use the documentation to understand the program if they need to correct or change it. We can see we preserve all the main ideas in different words. We have a more informal example of paraphrasing. The original passage would go, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." The paraphrase, which is not always shorter, would say, Einstein claimed that every creature has its own innate ability for being a genius, and judging their intelligence with the ability that they do not possess makes them feel useless throughout their life. As we can see, the paraphrase is not necessarily shorter. It's normally the same size or even longer, as we can see here. To paraphrase well, it's important to read to get the most important idea and to use also the correct and the adequate reported speech, verbs, and expressions. When we paraphrase, we follow certain techniques, such as to change the word order or the sentence structure, to use synonyms, to convert clauses into phrases to make it shorter, to change from direct speech to reported speech, to change from active to passive voice, or we also very often change the word form. And we change the transitions, connectors, and linking words for coherence. Summarizing is another method. In this case, we are condensing or making a version shorter than the original passage, but integrating the main or key ideas in your own words. A summary does not include many details, just the most fundamental ideas, and it's normally 25% of the original length. And a good strategy would be to use a mind map to organize the different ideas, as we can see here in this graph, in this figure. Another way of avoiding plagiarism is quoting. In this case, we borrow exact words from the original word source, placing quotation marks. We copy word for word, and it must be properly cited and referenced. If we omit part of the original passage, we have to use mark the ellipses with 3 periods in brackets. And if we insert our own comments, which is also possible, we have to put them inside brackets. We cannot use a lot of quoting in a text. It is not considered good practice. Another way is citing. In this case, when you are borrowing ideas or words from a source, citation includes the most important information about the author, the source, the pages, in brackets to acknowledge the source in full. The source that you are paraphrasing, quoting, or summarizing. And in this case, we have to use the proper citation style. There are different styles. And finally, we have references. We have a reference section at the end of our work, normally in academic writings, that include the detailed information of all the works and sources used in our work. References are normally listed in alphabetical order, and they follow certain conventions and formats depending on the corresponding citation style. APA, MLA, Chicago style, etc. We can see here an example of a reference page. Then, when it comes to choosing what is the best option, we must quote when what an author has stated cannot or is very difficult to express in different ways. We paraphrase when we want to clarify or emphasize an idea in our own words, and we finally summarize when we need to condense a lot of information or a longer text into a shorter sentence or passage. You must always, at all times, cite and reference what you are quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing. This is taken from Turnitin, which is a very important tool to avoid plagiarism. And here, you can also use some online writing labs, such as Purdue Online Writing Lab. And here we can get an infographics, this one, that tell us exactly what to do in each case. This is a kind of summary of what we have seen during this presentation. In conclusion, plagiarism must be always avoided in academic writing and academic contexts. And there are different ways of avoiding plagiarism. It is important to follow the right strategies and methods depending on the circumstances. Thank you very much for your attention.